Well, it's that time again. A new Marvel movie has arrived. Will it be as okay as Ant-Man, or a bit confusing like Thor Love and Thunder, or as great as Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Well, let's find out. The Marvels is the 33rd MCU film, a sequel to Captain Marvel and a continuation of the Miss Marvel TV show, and directed by Nia DaCosta. So first of all, I want to talk about is my initial reactions. And right now, this is going to be a non-spoiler area that I'm talking about here. Everything after this is very much going to be spoilers, simply because I will probably forget that I've just said a simple spoiler. So I'll try my best to not kind of spoil things in this kind of wee section here. So, my initial reactions to the Marvels. Pure and simply, it is a very fun superhero movie of what it should be. Now, I'm going to say right now, I think it's far better than Ant-Man, Quantumania. It is better than Thor Love and Thunder. To be honest, I enjoyed it. I generally did enjoy it more than Black Panther 2. I didn't get much out of that movie. For me, it is not as good as Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is a far better movie in so many different ways. But the best way I can kind of just summarize it is it's the most fun I've had with a Marvel movie since Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is fun, but I think you need to be in the right mindset to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's a very heavy movie. It's very quite downbeat a lot of the time in that movie, and that's fine. That's just what that movie is. I mean, I've not even rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I'm saying it right now, I probably will rewatch the Marvels a lot more than Guardians of the Galaxy 3, if I'm honest. I thoroughly enjoyed the Marvels. I think it kind of has everything, as I will kind of break down soon. It's fun, it's charming, it's got solid action. I think the direction is really nice, especially in that action. I think Nia DaCosta does actually a really damn good job. I think the pacing's good. Yes, this is the shortest MCU movie, but God, does it not feel rushed. Every scene knows what it's doing. Every scene knows how it's pushing the plot. I really like that. I like the whole switching when they use their powers. I like the actual simple fact that they have to work together as a team, and I really like that angle. So I liked all that stuff. There's a singing sequence. There's an army of cats. This stuff's in the trailer, so it's not really spoiling something right now. So yes, so just overall, my initial reaction was it's an extremely enjoyable movie. I've seen. I think overall this movie's getting really quite positive overall reaction. And people that I seem to be negative is just I don't really get it with this movie. I got it with Ant-Man and Thor Love and Thunder and even Black Panther 2. I can see why people would be a bit kind of annoyed with those movies, but it's harmless, this movie. Like, it's just one to be a big fun space adventure, and it does that. So next up, let's talk about characters. Now, I'm going to say right now, onwards now is spoiler territory. Now, pure and simply because I might kind of forget that what I said was a spoiler. I think I did okay there, where in my initial reaction that I didn't spoil anything there, I don't think. So, yes, let's talk about characters. Now, first of all, I really want to talk about is obviously Brie Larson as Captain Marvel herself. She finally got to shine in this movie, where, not in a bad way, just what the plot was. Obviously, the first movie where it was literally all about the Kree controlling her emotions, so naturally she couldn't showcase a great deal, which is a shame. She's an Oscar-winning actress. She is a fantastic actress. See any other movie she's done, and she showcases it, and she did here. She was funny, she was quirky. She showed every kind of little bit you would kind of want, and she got just, as I said, kind of more time to shine. And I like there was a lot of kind of going on with her as well, because, and I'm going to talk about it a bit later, where in a different point of view, the villains will see the heroes as the bad people. And I like that, yes, when she destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, that actually completely destroyed Hala, and that's the whole point of the plot, is obviously the villain is trying to get, to rebuild Hala, giving it air, which I liked. I'm going to say right now, there's a nice little moment where they went to Hala. And the fact that, like, if you want to live in Hala, you have to wear a breathable mask all the time just to breathe. Like, there's some nice little kind of dark moments like that, which, maybe if there was a longer runtime, we would have got more of that. But I was fine with that. And I thought it was really good. But, yes, and they called, obviously, Captain Marvel the Annihilator, which obviously she hates. And but I like how she's kind of dealing with it. She's still dealing with a lot of trauma. I mean, there's a nice little moment where she's still using the scroll memory technology, and it's still the fact that Monica kind of says, "Oh, you still haven't got your memories," and it's like, no, no, they're still not fully. Amanda Villani as Miss Marvel as Kamal Khan is probably the highlight of the movie, which I think we all knew that was going to happen. To me, she is the new Tom Holland. She is just so perfect in this role, perfectly casted. Every moment she's in, she just shines and she just pops. I think she's great. And the next costume that she gets, I think, is fine. It looked worse in the photos. It looks okay in the movie. I much prefer her costume in the Miss Marvel show, as well as you do see she wears it a good bit in the actual movie as well. So it was kind of a shame. I understood it, but it was a bit of a kind of a shame that they kind of did that. But overall, I think the cast are really solid. Actually, I think they all do a good job. I like that the main three they kind of have their issues and they kind of have something kind of going on. Kamal is very much part of the plot with the bangle, and I like that there's tension between Caro and Monica. I think that was dealt with really, really well, and how they kind of deal with it, and kind of how it goes throughout the whole movie, and we could talk about the whole the kind of female empowerment movement, and I think this movie does that kind of well. If you want to look into that sort of stuff, because I know a lot of people had issues, and even women themselves had issues with the endgame scene, and that idea of maybe this is why men shouldn't write women sometimes, because it's like they think this is what they're all together, they're all great, and it's like none of these characters know each other. Do you know what I mean? But here it's like they have their issues, they have their struggles, they're real people, and I think they did it better here. I thoroughly enjoyed that sort of stuff. Someone who I really want to talk about is Samuel Jackson. I realized a little bit with this movie, and he's done it many times before. I think it's because after Secret Invasion, Samuel Jackson is so good at giving you everything. So he can be serious, but he can also be funny. He can be the most vulnerable one in the room, but he can also have the most powerful voice. I just think Samuel Jackson just absolutely kills it as Nick Fury, and he's not getting any younger. But a shame one day when sadly he's going to maybe have to go, which will be a shame. Other stuff to talk about characters, obviously the villain. Maybe you could argue is the weakest thing of the movie. I thought she was fine. It's a shame because I really like her in Fresh Meat. Really good in Fresh Meat. I like her motivation. It makes sense. But again, maybe it's just because kind of shorter runtime, maybe there would have been more to kind of chew on from her. But you get her anger, you get where it's coming from, and it does kind of make sense. And one other thing I want to talk about is because I love the character, and I was like wondering how it was going to work because they did reveal it in a trailer. Was Valkyrie is in this movie, and she has a nice wee cameo, which I liked because at first I was like, how is she going to be in this movie? But obviously, when they go to a Skrull colony, that planet gets blown up via the villain. But I don't know if it gets fully blown up. I don't know, but basically the air was taken to take back to Hala. I was like, what's happening here? And then I was like, Carol says, I'm going to call a friend. And I was like, okay, right. And then it was Valkyrie, and I was like, all right, this makes sense. And they're going to take them to New Asgard. I was like, completely makes sense. And there was a really nice line because you realise actually how much Valkyrie and Carol are quite similar. I like when Valkyrie says, you can stand strong while being with other people. You don't have to always be alone. And I like that because obviously that was something Valkyrie learned, because obviously in Thor Ragnarok she was a drunk, she was a mess, she was alone until she found Thor and Banner, and she had her own little team, and it just shows that it's not always bad to get help, basically. That's kind of what the message kind of was there, and I like that cameo, and I like seeing Tessa Thompson. I think she's always great. So let's talk about the actual plot, shall we? So basically the main plot is the villain is hell-bent on revenge because of Carol, because what she did to basically Hala, which I do like that angle, and she wants to get the air, she needs to get water, and she needs to get sun to basically rejuvenate Hala. And there was a nice moment where you do see Hala, and I wish there was a little bit more of that, where people having to wear masks just to breathe, and it's quite some dark stuff, and I think it was handled quite well. And then another big portion of the kind of plot is the whole switching powers, which I really enjoyed and I really liked, and I thought that was handled really quite well because, as I says, I like the idea of they physically have to work as a team. It's almost like the first time I actually really seen it, where they have to learn, they have to, connect together on how to actually. There was a nice sequence where they're in Carol's ship and they were kind of like dealing with how to literally physically work together. I really quite liked that, and I liked the whole kind of just the space adventure that it was. I thought it kind of felt like Thor Ragnarok, where I had that feeling of just, it felt quite, not hugely epic, but at least relatively epic, where of a kind of a big space adventure. I kind of thoroughly enjoyed that sort of stuff, and there was a nice little kind of sequence where, obviously, I mentioned already with the Skrulls. They kind of continue the Skrull, storyline that's going through the MCU. And this Emperor was mentioned in Secret Invasion, that there was other colonies out there, and this is obviously one of the Skrull colony. And sadly, they lost the planet they were on, and obviously they end up going to New Asgard. And I kind of like how New Asgard is becoming a kind of a safe haven on Earth. I kind of like that idea, what it's kind of become. I think that's really quite nice. But I just like seeing that the Skrull plot is continuing, and the way it's going after Secret Invasion and this, you could see the Skrulls getting a little bit more angry that just nothing's going their way. And I've always said I think they should have done a Secret Invasion Avengers movie. They could still do that. I mean, I've always rather seen that than a Kang Dynasty movie, to be honest. I think a Secret Invasion movie would be so good. I think they could do something really quite well with that. And something else I wanted to talk about with the story was, I liked, I think I did mention it already, was the point of view of a villain, and how, so Carol went back to Hala, destroyed the Supreme Intelligence, but naturally she was just like, well, I stopped the bad guys, but in their point of view, that completely crippled their planet. And I like that they called her Annihilator, and they called that, naturally she hated that, and she had guilt over that. And I liked how they dealt with that. There was a lot to chew from, of everything basically in the movie, and it just, overall, I think it was a solid story. Had a good pace, had a good movement. But as I says, it kind of has a bit of everything, which I'm going to talk about next. So, my highlights of this movie, and kind of wrapping up this review. So, there's quite a lot of bits I really kind of, as I says, I'm going to talk about here, the highlights. The singing sequence. This movie kind of has a little bit of everything in this movie. Now, in the comics, that was what that planet was like. But if I remember rightly, in the comics, everyone sung. But obviously, they did put the communication thing, so maybe if they didn't have that on, they would have been hear them singing as well, I guess. But I'm sure in the comics, it was, no matter what, as soon as you're in that planet, everyone, even yourself, would be singing. But I loved it. I thought it was really nice. I did feel a little bit rushed, and maybe that was a good example of, maybe there would have been, more time. Brie Larson looked great in her costume. That I thought that looked really good, and obviously got a chance to sing as well. So, as we know, she can sing. So I thought that was really nice. I really liked that whole set. Also, just those sets, it looked really nice. And I guess this is a highlight to talk about here is, and I've noticed nobody can really, because I always find it funny nowadays. People always try and find something to really get angry over a Marvel movie nowadays. And something just to kind of slag off, and they think it's so funny, and let's rip into this thing now. And Thor: Love and Thunder, it was the floating head. Ant-Man, it was MODOK. It just seems to be, there's something that they just want to clutch onto, and this is a thing we're going to hate on in this movie. But I don't think they've got it with this one. I think they're kind of struggling with this one, because there's nothing really to overall, I don't think, to hate about this movie. It's enjoyable. There's an army of cats in this movie, and there was a great sequence with the music, and I liked how they tied that up, actually, because that's been going since Captain Marvel, where obviously Goose she's basically got a dimension inside her where she can house people, and we've already seen it where she can't take them back up, so it's not like they die in there. And I like that how they used that idea to actually take people for their safety to bring them back down to Earth. I just loved it. Everyone was terrified. You would have thought maybe like Nick Fury maybe would have been like, you know, say the plan, but obviously they just went, we don't have time, just do it, just get it done. But I liked that, and I liked Saber. I liked the look of Saber. I had a very kind of Star Trek vibe. I would quite like to actually see a new Nick Fury show more focused on, with Saber and kind of dealing with the outside of Earth, and I think they could do something really fun with it. I thought the design looked good, the costumes looked really good as well on Saber. I really thoroughly enjoyed that stuff. A really nice action sequence I liked was in Kamal Khan's house. I thought that was so and there was that whole chunk of action sequence where they're kind of swapping about. And they're just going basically everywhere. But that fight sequence in that Kamal Khan's house was really nicely done. It was a very tight fight scene. It was quite tense. There was moments where you're like, oh god, they're especially the dad. I thought like, Chris, is he gonna die here or something? I thought something really bad was going to happen. But I thought it was really nicely done, the action sequence. And again, the big highlight is with Miss Marvel with Aman Vellani. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I apologise if I haven't. But she's just great. She is so charming. I hope to see more of her in the future, where I think we hopefully will, because we'll talk about now is the end scene, which I loved, because I absolutely adore Kate Bishop and Haley Steinfeld. Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop is a bit like with Miss Marvel, is easily one of the greatest new additions to the MCU recently. She is fantastic. She another one. She is so charming in the role, and unlike Jeremy Renner, you actually feel like Haley Steinfeld wants to be in this franchise. She clearly quite loves the character, and you enjoy watching her as so. And obviously, talking about that last scene, where it was a nice kind of play on the very first after credit scene way back when in Iron Man in 2008, where Nick Fury recruits Tony Stark, and I like that they kind of did this in a kind of jokey way. I quite enjoyed that, and they do mention about Ant-Man's daughter, so they're very much hinting at least those three right now. I would quite like if they maybe did like a Miss Marvel second season with Kate Bishop in it. I think they could do something quite fun with that. Maybe like slowly build the young Avengers, clearly is what they're kind of going for. Clearly build that up. They could do something kind of fun with that if that's what they'll kind of do. But yeah, that's my overall highlights. Thoroughly enjoyed this movie. So lastly I want to talk about is the after credit scene, or really actually the mid credit scene. There wasn't really actually a Barrett's after credit scene, which I much prefer. I'm glad that they did that, because that's the one thing that does annoy me about Marvel movies, is when they clearly do the important scene in the mid credit scene, and then the last after credit scene it's just some joke, and it's like, that was a waste of time. I mean, I like that they just went, let's focus more on the runtime of the movie and then just do one scene and then that's it. I was perfectly fine with that. But yes, so the after credit scene was very exciting. Was Monica, who's now trapped in a different reality, which I loved all that stuff. I thought it was so. I like the ending to this movie. It felt like proper old school kind of a Marvel movie where it was a bit more heavy, like something kind of happened, and I quite liked that. How it ended. But obviously Monica now in a different reality. She wakes up and sees what looks like her mum, Maria. And obviously it's not. She doesn't even recognise Monica, and she's just in disbelief of what's kind of going on. Monica, she doesn't really know what's going on. And then we get a reveal that Kelsey Grammer is back as Beast and looks far better here. I think it makes so much sense going CGI, because before I did like his costume, to be fair, but I never liked the costume they did. I forget the name of the fella that played him in the kind of prequel movies. It just always looks like a guy in a suit and a costume. While here, it looks like a beast. It looks like the classic looking, even like the teeth are kind of up in the front, which I really liked. It just looked so good. He looked huge. He looked bulky. He looked like exactly what Beast should look like. So it was great seeing him, and hopefully maybe we might see, with Deadpool 3. To be fair, that was said that this movie will have connections to Deadpool 3, so I'm assuming Kelsey Grammer's Beast is going to appear in that movie, which would make sense. But I thoroughly enjoyed the after credit scene. I'm interested to see what's going to happen. It looks like, going by costume, that Monica sorry, Maria is binary in this universe, so it'll be interesting to see continuing what's going to go on there. So it was very exciting. So yes, that's my review of the Marvels. I'd like to know what you guys thought of this movie. Please comment down below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and all that usual stuff. I would give this movie 7.5 ginger geeks out of 10. There you go. I think that's a good solid place to put it. So yes, thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It's fun. Go see it. You'll have a good time. Yeah, enjoy it. Hope you do. I'll see you later. More videos in the future. So until then, goodbye.